PVC plumbing fittings, couplings and caps, and real short pieces of pipe to join them together. You got to file all the lettering and all that stuff off. Some of the couplings have letterings on the ends, so you have to file that off and sand them down. Make sure you get all the shine off of it so that your glue or your paint will stick. I use evergreen strip to hide the seams if I need to, and I also put it at various intervals so that you don't have just one band around it, you've got several. And I usually glue ladders and piping and all that other stuff to it before I paint it, and I'll usually prime it first or paint it dark gray to decide until I decide what color I want it. I use regular plumbing cement, no primer or anything, on the inside of the fittings to glue the pipe in. And then I'll use automotive style body putty to fill the seams. Sometimes I'll put the body putty in the seam before I push the two pieces together, so it'll kind of fill the gap, but it needs sanded off after that naturally, sanded down. When I make the water towers, I use two fittings, and I take one of them and take a bottle of paint or a block of wood or something that gives me the right height that I can lay a pencil across and then turn the fitting so I got a good line to cut it off with. And then I'll dry fit everything, because sometimes they're out of round, they're not completely perfect, and if I get one that's in a particular spot where it matches up good, I'll draw a pencil line on that, so on both pieces, so when I put it together with glue I can line them pencil marks up and have it fairly true. I put a lot of detail on mine, ladders and vents and hatches and all kinds of stuff, so it's not just a couple of bare fittings. It's one of the detail supplies, and they have a set where you get three sets of plastic trees with different kinds of ladders, step ladders, stairs, all kinds of stuff on them, and I'll use that. And Plastruck has the cage material like I put on the water towers. I've got a little table mounted drill press, and I'll put two stops on it to where it'll just fit in there, and the drill will come down just inside the edge of the part that's setting flat. I'll take a piece of paper and wrap around it and mark the length and divide it into however many legs I want, and I can mark the piece with a pencil where I need to drill the holes. And I'll tilt the table probably 5 degrees or so that I get my legs a little bit of a angle to start out with, so they're not straight down, they're spread out at the bottom a little bit. The legs are usually evergreen rod or tubing or I-beam or whatever. Plastruck makes a beam that has webbing in between it. I've seen some of those used as legs on water towers, that type of material, but I haven't done it so far myself. But all the braces I use either Plastruck, angle iron, or square strips. And then I use a thinner rod for the supports and stuff. And usually for a tall water tower, I'll use the stuff full length as it comes out of the package. I've got one that I'm making that's shorter, so I cut them down all the same. I usually put a a walkway in the center, and that helps hide the seam. And I leave the top loose, so if I put a light or whatever on top of it, and I put a plug, I cut out a piece of pipe and cut a little section out and glue it in there so that when I put it down, it'll only fit one direction. Especially if I have piping or ladders that line up. The handrail around the top is brass wire, and it's soldered together very tediously. Cost about $15, 12 to 15, depending upon what fittings you have to buy and all that to build a storage tank or a silo or that kind of stuff. And if you buy a model of a storage tank, it can be anywhere from $15 to $30 depending upon what all it includes.